Okay. Hello? Is this... I don't think that's the one that's on. Um, what's up, guys? Luna from Hell of a Boss here, and I love reading a lot. I'm a very literate person. This webcam is from 2009, and in 2009, I was a child. I was 4 years old. And I couldn't quite read yet, but I wanted to, and I always loved it when people said to me. So I was always early on very interested in literature, and I think English is was one of my best classes in school because I always loved doing reading, and I always loved reading things like the back of a cereal box. I would read that. Those like magazines that they have in like public like places like dentists' offices, or just like stuff that's in like our restroom. Like it's just like a um I remember we had a Home Depot catalog of just like a bunch of just, Home Depot stuff that I had no interest in, but I read every page of it because just stuff to read. So from an early age, I was very invested in reading and literature. So before I kind of graduated to an elite reader, quote unquote, because that's a subjective term. Um, Today I will be, well, tonight it's almost 2 a.m., but what I will be doing is I will be counting down the top 10 books of my childhood. Yes, these are the top 10 favorite books that I read as a wee tyke. Um, Back when I used to be this tall, and now I am still around that tall, but that is besides the point. Okay, so without any further ado, let's begin. So number 10, my 10th favorite book of my entire childhood has to be The Giving Tree. You know, it's a classic. Everyone knows The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. It's just one of those classic books. I also love other works such as Light in the Attic. That one's also very good. Um, you know, like you feel like you're there with the boy and the tree, and you really feel for the tree here. I've never, felt this way for a tree before, but through these pages, and you just start to feel empathy. This is the book that taught me the concept of empathy and being environmentally conscious. For when we take everything we have for granted, we are nothing but a stump, and we leave everything behind. So very important book, very influential book. And it's probably, as a young child, there, a lot of books aren't as thought provoking as this one, and so this one has a very deep seated place in my memory. So again, that was like a very early childhood book, but getting into like when I was very first getting into novels, you see, I wasn't allowed to read Harry Potter because that is witchcraft and also of the devil. So instead, what we got was this one, I almost thought, series by Andrew Peterson called The Wingfeather Saga, which is someone described it to me as bargain bin Narnia, and then I promptly threw them out of my car on I-45 and got a ticket for that. But that's neither here nor there. They deserved it. This series is amazing. This book specifically, Warden of the Wolf King, is the final book in the series. of 4 books. It's the longest book by far. And this is the book that turned me into a furry, quite undoubtedly. It's a fantasy novel for young adults. It's a young adult novel. It's the perfect like bedtime story. Like obviously 10-year-old me isn't reading The Giving Tree every single night anymore. So, this is very, very inventive and it leaves a lot to the imagination, and paved the way for many of my own interpretations going into the future. Also, this book made me a furry. Number 8, my 8th favorite book that I read as a child is Randall Munroe's What If. I got this book for my 9th birthday, and I read it cover to cover, I think in like 3 days. And as a 9-year-old, I didn't understand most of the things that he talked about in this book, but I think it's one of those books that when you're young and you don't quite understand the science between things, it's still very fascinating and gets you interested in them. Now, obviously, What If you didn't know, is by the creator of XKCD, Randall Munroe, who is an amazing cartoonist, and also it's just absurd questions that have like very serious scientific answers. Like, what if I jumped out of an airplane with a couple of tanks of helium and one huge uninflated balloon? You wouldn't want to ask a scientist that question. They'd probably kick you out of the science convention. They'll tell you to get a life. But you can just go to Randall Munroe and he'll tell you how high can a human throw something, and give pictures and give actual evidence. I mean, as a child, I never cared about the science behind it really, but it led the way for me to become fascinated with this stuff, and it's still a very good read even now. This book isn't aimed at children, but as a 9-year-old who is vaguely interested in science, it very, very captured my imagination. I mean, it has everything you want. And there is a second book, which I have, came out, I think, a couple or a few years ago, which is also very good. I mean, if you ever wanted to know what would happen if you drained the oceans and put all of the world's water on Mars, just absurd questions like that, but they give an actual serious answer to them. And I love it. Like, how many Lego bricks would it take to build a bridge capable of carrying traffic from London to New York? I mean, that's an awesome question. And he answers it awesomely. Actually, Ferb, I know what I'm going to do today. Incredible book. 8th place. Well, honestly, I don't even know if they're 8th place. I don't think I'm doing this off of like top 10. Meaning 10 is the worst or like the least best, and number 1 is going to be the best. But honestly, all of these books are amazing, and I think instead of top 10, they're just the 10 books that defined my childhood, that I read the most over my childhood. So this one is definitely one of those. Now, this other one is a sci-fi book. It is Ringworld by Larry Niven, which is, again, another book that isn't specifically targeted towards children, but in 6th grade. Well, you see, my backstory with this, and the reason that this is in a binder instead of the actual book itself, is because back when I was a gamer, back when I was more into video games, I was a huge Halo fan. So the prospect of Halo, was somewhat inspired by Ringworld, or at least a part of the game has this sort of ring world structure, um, inspired by this book. So I was very intrigued by the concept of this story, and I wanted to check it out. However, my school library did not have any copies of Ringworld, so I asked my English teacher, and I just said it as a suggestion. Like my English teacher asked, "Hey, is there any books that any of you would like to read this semester for a an assignment?" And I said Ringworld by Larry Niven. Like I know that the library doesn't have it, but I'm still very interested in it, and you know, it's sci-fi. It's like I think it's one of the very first popular sci-fi books. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, but my teacher was generous enough not to buy a copy, but to print out the entirety of the book and put it into a binder. And honestly, that is the most generous thing a teacher has done for me. Miss Osborne, thank you so much. This book, this book means a lot to me as a young adult reader. This got me into sci-fi pretty much. I mean, we read Ender's Game, but I didn't really like Ender's Game because it relied too far into like crude children humor, and I was in that state where I was edgy and cooler than that. So I don't know. I was just in the phase where I wasn't into Ender's Game as much, and honestly, the movie kind of ruined it for me. So whatever. But very interesting book, very entertaining sci-fi novel, in a very interesting format. And I think the story behind it is why I included it, because I mean, you know, I wasn't necessarily a child. I was like 12 when I read this, but you know, it's the thought that counts. So that's definitely one of the defining books of my life, just because of the links my English teacher went to get me this. Um, Again, Miss Osborne, thank you. Um, Man, okay. So this next book, I think I bought it at Goodwill, which is the National Geographic Kids 2012 Almanac. So this one's pretty old. Actually, it's so old that most of the pages are falling out of it. That is how much I have read this book. Um, literally most of the pages are falling out of it. But this book really has everything you need. I mean, it's got like the weird but true sections. It's got like what is life, the universe, the planets, constellations, health tips. It's got games, it's got puzzles, it's got little stories. It has everything you want. These books are amazing. And I picked 2012 because this is the first one that I ever got, but I have them up until like I wish I had the most recent ones, but I bought from like 2012 to 2020 of these books, and I would make a point like every year, please get me the next National Geographic Kids Almanac. I was addicted to these things. They just have so much information, and I love information. I mean, you know, like they just have like maps of the entire world and like go into very specific detail, especially for like a 7-year-old. Like there's something new and something different on every page. Every page has some new information, and I would spend hours, I would spend days just looking at this book and thinking about what I'm reading. Very, very interesting. Like they have science, um, they have social commentary. Like there's a whole section based off of Greek mythology. I mean, come on. Um, it's just epic. This book is epic. This whole series, National Geographic Kids almanacs, are just incredible. Um, and I've read it so much that the pages are falling out. So it's really a testament to how much I love this book and this series of books. Going on, we have, oh, this one's good. This is Horn of Plenty by which is a biography of Louis Stout, who is a very prominent horn player. This book was published by my friend's grandmother, and she loaned me a copy because in my junior high band I played the French horn, which is the instrument that Mr. Stout did play, and this is very informative. You know, a lot of people wouldn't see it as interesting. It's an autobiography of a musician, of a horn player, but he started his own educational foundation, and it's just intriguing because this was my instrument. Like, I don't know, I've never found stories of people getting lost in a cornfield that interesting. Like this, I was you know, so ingrained in the story of this man's life. I felt like I was there, almost drowning in the surf in New Jersey, you know. And like, you know, going through the years from 1978 to 1990, you know, I feel like I was there. It gives me a really in-depth look at this profound musician's life and how he affected my friend's grandmother, who is in a part of this book somewhere. I mean, there's a lot of pictures too. And at the very end of the book, there's actually a CD with some of his major recordings on it. So that is, I mean, it's got everything that I need, everything that you need if you want to learn about the incredible contributions that Mr. Stout has on the horn community. Again, like very, very influential book. Very like, thank you, Miss Butler, for lending me this. And although I haven't touched a French horn in 5 years, it's still a very, very good read and very, very informative, very eye-opening. So that is why that is on this list. Now the next one, oh, you're not ready for this one. Oh yeah, we got it. You already know it's the Holy Bible. Let's go. Shout out Jesus Christ. Okay, this book is incredible. I absolutely adore the Bible. I mean, you know, a talking donkey, a dude killing a giant dude with a slingshot. I mean, come on. This is like the greatest fantasy novel ever created. I mean, there are some sections which have just a bunch of like boring issue, like laws and just talking about like who has who as a kid, who has who as a kid, you know. But like for the most part, there's like such a, you know, very, you know, large and ingrained story. It feels like it's actually real. And there's this guy, Jesus, you know, who's like basically the hero of the story. And honestly, he's very inspiring. Like, I feel like, you know, I could, you know, base my own, the way I live off of what he says in this book. And it's like, you know, if there was any book that I, you know, could like start like a belief system after, it would be this one. You know, and it's even got a book named after me, which is insane because allegedly it was written of way longer than 19 years ago. So, you know, there, it's just tons of stories. It's really just a large anthology of innovative and captivating stories from a time long ago, but with so many messages that can be still relevant today. Honestly, one of my favorite stories. It's such a good book. I would recommend it. I would uh, I would skip the book named after me. Basically, just a bunch of laws, but still, I mean, like in any case, it's still an incredibly good book. And I think the laws just add greater context to the stories that are present within it. So I think that does fit in with that. Moving on, we have, ooh, I love this book so much. I spent hours reading this as a kid. This is 1000 Airlines in Color by Jerry Manning. My grandpa gave me this book. I used to be very into aviation and airlines and um, commercial airplanes and that whole industry. And it was very interesting for me to see because this book is from the late 90s. So pre September 11th, 2001, which is the day that the Glow Part 2 released and nothing else bad happened regarding to aviation. But you know, it's got like, I mean, there's so many aircraft. It's 1000 airlines. Did you even know that there were 1000 airlines that exist? I didn't, but I spent every day just looking through every picture, all of these pictures, and just thinking someone looked out of the cockpit out into the great blue beyond and saw that. I mean, I never would have thought I would fly Air Botswana Cargo or Calamar or European Airlines or Empire Airways or Norcan Air or Orion Air. You never knew these existed, but here they are. Just all of these pictures, all of these planes, each one has a story, every single flight. And I think that's so incredible. And as a child, this was literally my entire life. I remember just reading this nonstop, page to page, cover to cover, and I would tell my family about each and every one of these planes, and they would all tell me to shut up, but they just didn't understand how incredible this book is and how, you know, it's just so amazing just how many airlines there are, and you can just see them in color. It's in color. The book is in color. There is this love note in here addressed to my grandfather by a woman who is not my grandmother. Who when he gave me this book, he said, don't worry about that, because I was a kid and I couldn't read cursive. But yeah, it's a little bit awkward, but you know, I'm not here for that. I'm not here for the for that. I'm here for the Airlines in Color. This is an incredible book, and I love it. And every kid should have a copy of this in their book. Now, this next one is one of my all-time favorites. I know I've said that a lot, but when I say this is one of my all-time childhood favorites, it's still one of my favorites today. So that's how you know that this is really a timeless classic. This next book is the 2003 spring edition of Getaway Cabins and Cottages. This is a catalog of over 250 floor plans of vacation homes. I mean, just look at that. It has very detailed descriptions and layouts of all of the homes you could possibly need. I mean, you know, you wanna pretend like you live here instead of where you live now. You want to escape to this place? Well, now you can. You can envision it. You can create a mental image of what it would be like to live in such a middle class uh, residence, from 2003. So not that long ago. I mean, I've never lived in a place with a two-car garage or a garage in general, or a second bedroom, or a screened porch, or more than one bathroom, or vaulted ceilings. I mean, come on, this has it all. I mean, look at these houses. Like, they have the normal ones. I mean, you look at the pictures here and you think, oh, those are normal, but they have so much character in them. They've just so many stories that couldn't be told through them. I mean, you've got small houses, you've got pretty large houses too. So, I mean, it's really a nice, it's got everything. I mean, look at this. It's got A-frames too. I mean, that's just incredible. I've always wanted to live in an A-frame with one bedroom in a wood burning stove on a lakeside. And it even has real houses. It even has like real houses that have already been built, and it shows real pictures of them. They all say, note, the photographed home may have been modified by the homeowner, because this picture does have a wraparound deck, and the floor plan actually doesn't. So, but I mean, look at this. Look at this house. I mean, come on. Isn't that just the coolest thing ever? I want to live there. This has framed many of my mental escapes throughout my entire childhood, and I just love this book so much. Like, honestly, like I said with the airline book, every child should have the spring 2003 edition of Getaway Cabins and Cottages. It's just nonstop entertainment, nonstop floor plans, and just anything you could ever want to escape your own life. Um, and it's even got this cool section where you get to pretend like you're living in this time where housing could be so easily done and paid for. I mean, you can fill out this little survey here, and I've done it, and I've erased all of my answers many a time for that exact reason. I mean, just think of all the stories you can have with these. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. An octagon house? I mean, look at this floor plan. That's crazy. I could literally go and just rant on and on. Like, hey, look at this thing. That's like straight out of like a sci-fi novel. That's straight out of Ringworld. What am I doing? But I mean, anyways, that was, in no way were those the top 9. But just just the ones that are the most influential to my childhood literary experience. So this next one is very special to me in the context that it is a story that I made myself. Quick honorable mention section before I get into this is I used to read a lot of Minecraft novels, notably just like little stories that people would write, like little graphic novels that people would just take screenshots of Minecraft. I mean, I was a very big Minecraft child back before it was cool again. But anyways, besides from that, this one is actually very much inspired by another game, not Minecraft. This time, The Long Dark. It's called Dan's Adventure, and it's a comic. And I only have like the first like 30 pages of it here right now. There's more over there, but this was such a big project. I actually got in trouble because I was doing this in class instead of doing my work, and I got this taken away from me, and I threw a fit. But I mean, this is the byproduct of just months and months of just having fun and just putting my comic writing skills to the test. And to this day, I mean, I've never really tried to write another comic after this because I feel like I've already perfected things. I mean, think about it. You have you have your stick man. That's Dan. That's who's on the adventure, and he's surely on the adventure. It goes so many twists and turns, and many characters, and many things. Too much to explain. I mean, there's just so many things that can happen, and that do happen, and just so much time and effort went into this. Honestly, if I could get this published now, I would be the happiest girl alive. But you know, it's just so much done and so much character put into every single frame and square and picture of all of these interactions. Truly my magnum opus. Even this cave scene where I had to color in each of these pages roughly, and I kind of smudged them so you can't really see what's going on in most of the dark ones. But I mean, still, you have to think about it. It's just incredible. It's just incredible. I mean, you really have to just you know, admire the work that went into this. Truly one of the literary experiences of all time. And this is only the first 30 or so pages. So, you know, my literary journey has gone a long way from here. Now, from reading 10 books as a child, I have graduated to reading 14 books, and they're back there, and I don't want to get into them now because they would probably get me banned on YouTube. So I'm not going to get into them right now. But so that was my top 10 books, childhood books. Thank you. This video is 30 minutes long, but I tried to condense it as much and talk about each of my books as well as I could. So thank you for listening. Thank you for putting up with my crappy webcam. Thank you, Professor Richardson, for donating me this webcam from 2009. I don't think of it. This isn't the microphone that's plugged in right now, so I don't even know why that's there. Okay. Well, anyways, that has been me, and I am. It's what, like 2:30 a.m. I'm going to catch up on some light readings. I might look at around, just do some light reading before bed. Maybe just look at a couple hundred airlines in color. But again, just all around, literature is great, and it's great that America invented books. I'm just so proud of what we were able to do, and proud of myself for taking inspiration from these works to create my own. I did end up writing a story, but if you did watch the video that talks about me being back at square one, I kind of explain the situation why I no longer have that book. But by now I'm rambling, and I will bid you adieu and good night. Oh. Oh. Fuck. Oh. Oh, fucking hell. Ow. Oh, fuck. Oh, my knee.